One of the things you need to do is give yourself permission to learn. The whole process of learning how to do renovations properly, how to do DIY projects, how to do all those things is giving yourself permission to learn. I get really frustrated. I used to get really frustrated trying to learn a new thing because oftentimes I was on the project, I was on a job site trying to learn a new application of something, or bought a new shower system, for example, or a new shower stall, and trying to figure it all out. And sometimes just being under the gun can create some great frustration, putting self-imposed pressure on ourselves. So one of the first things you need to do is give yourself permission. If you watch a show, if you watch a DIY project, you watch some of the stuff that we're going to be doing on this channel, it's going to look easy. It's going to look really simple. Watching us tape, watching us paint, watching us do all these different things, it's going to look really easy. And then you're going to start to do it and you're going to get frustrated because it's not going on the same. It's not moving as quickly and as fast as you want it to. You got to give yourself permission. Know that it takes a long time to develop the skills, to develop just the touch that happens over time. So giving yourself permission is one of the best things that you can give yourself. If you think that it's going to take you an hour to do a particular thing, give yourself 2 hours. Allow yourself a little extra time, because that's one of the things that causes the frustration, especially with renovations, is that we think it can be done so quickly. Why? Because we get so educated with some of the shows that we see, and a complete transformation happens within an hour on a television program. And then when it doesn't happen in real life, we can get frustrated. So I'm telling you right now that you need to give yourself a little extra time. Don't think that you can do something in a couple hours. Give yourself a little bit of extra time, and that will reduce the frustration. And it's going to help you a long way, especially in relationships. Because, hey, who hasn't been in that experience, working with a parent or working with a spouse, working with a partner, and they're getting all frustrated because they're trying to get things done quick, and they're trying to, they got a time restraint, and everybody gets frustrated. If you just gave yourself a little bit more time, a little bit more, just a little bit more relaxed, so you didn't have such constraints on yourself, it would go a lot better. So I want to encourage you with that, to just give yourself permission to learn. Because if you want to become an expert, if you really want to become really good, and you can, picking up the tools, picking up the tips and the tricks along the way, it's going to be really easy for you to become quite efficient at what you do. And you'll be able to save a lot of money along the way. And while we're talking about that, I want to talk about the trade-off. And what I mean by that is sometimes it's better to pay someone to come in and do a particular part of a project, even though it's going to cost a little bit more, just because it saves you the aggravation, the frustration, or it's just something that's just beyond your skill set. So there's certain things. So when you're looking at projects, when you're looking at DIY things and looking at renovations and stuff that you would like to do around your home or your investment properties or whatever the case is, look at what's really practical. Know yourself. Know exactly, how well you are, artistically, how you can handle tools, how you can, strength, wise, just doing stuff, lifting and doing the different things that need to happen. Look at your limitations that you may have and give yourself permission to be able to say, okay, maybe it's wiser for me to, check out and see how much it would cost to have somebody come in and do this particular element, rather than me, hurting myself or frustrating myself or just delaying the project too much. Because sometimes that's one of the other big things, is that it's not that you can't do it, it just may take you 5, 6, 10 times longer to do it. Because many people that are doing DIY projects, that are doing home renovation stuff, they're working full-time. They got a full-time job, they got responsibilities, they got children to look after, they got all these different things going on in their lives, and on top of that, they're trying to do renovations, and that can really compound the things. So sometimes it's easier or better to just go to work and leave the key with somebody to come in and take care of a particular component so that it's done, and then you can carry on with something that's maybe a little bit more up your alley, maybe a little bit easier for you to handle. So look at those things and evaluate. That's part of the, the focus plan and action process that we're talking about. That's part of that deal, is just learning what is better to allow someone else to perhaps come in and do rather than you doing it. Because sometimes it's worth spending a little bit of money to have a professional come in and do a particular component, just so that you can keep the project rolling and keep things going nicely. All right, does that make sense? Well, look, at the last thing that I want to talk about is what I call the money pit. Now, the money pit is we've seen movies on the money pit where it's just an old dilapidated house and it's just they're pouring good after bad money into the project and it's not really going anywhere. It's not finishing. I'm not talking about that. What I'm going to suggest is this, and you'll probably hear me say this a few times. There's no limit to the amount of money that you can pour into a house, but there is a limit of what you're going to get back out of that house. And so you really need to be wise in what you do in your renovations. You really need to be wise. If you have a home, let's say it's a modest, on the lower scale in your particular area, and you want to put in a $100,000 kitchen, it may not be the wisest choice of investment. It might not be the wisest choice of money. So you need to look at what is really relative, what is really beneficial to putting into that project. Because like I said, a house is never going to say to you, stop putting money into me. It's not going to tell you to stop doing that. It'll allow you to keep pouring things in there. I remember having a conversation with a couple. They were arguing over what kind of a faucet to put in their shower. And it was just a secondary bathroom. We were just finishing a basement area. So it was just the bathroom that guests would use when they're visiting their home. But in that shower, one of the partners wanted to put in a gold-plated shower faucet. The other one just said, look, let's just put in a brushed nickel or a chrome-plated one. It's just a secondary bathroom. And there was a great dispute over that. And again, it just came down to what is practical. What is necessary? What is the house really going to, give back on an investment like that? And it really wasn't worth spending, over $3,000 just on a shower nozzle. So look at the things that are practical to put in there. Again, it comes back to that focus, plan, and action. It comes back to just deciding what is beneficial. What is your outcome with the place? Are you just doing a lipstick? Are you just putting cosmetic stuff into a property? Are you doing a little bit more of a remodel? Are you doing a complete restoration, a reconstruction? Looking at what you're going to do. What is the outcome? And then budgeting that, creating your budget according to what the market is going to give back. Let's say you buy a house for $500,000 and you could put $200,000, you could put another $500,000 in renovations. But are you going to be able to get that back out of the market? So remember that a house will never say stop. There's no limit to the amount of money that you can put into a home, but there is a limit to what you can get out of it. And it's all part of the process. All part of what you need to think about as you start to look at the renovations, look at the DIYs, look at the little projects that you want to do around the place. Is it relative? Is it really important? Am I going to get the return out of it? If it's a long-term thing, yeah, maybe you will. But if on a short-term basis, you may not see that return. So really look at what it is that you're putting in there. So I hope this was helpful. We're going to talk about a whole lot more. There's going to be more DIY stuff. We're going to take you through some of the projects that we're working on. We've got some whole home renovations that we're doing. We're completely remodeling, we're regutting a whole house. We'll take you through that whole process, show you that you're not limited to where things are, that you can move things around. There's so much more that we're going to show you. So I'm really excited that you're here. I'm looking forward to this journey together. And I really hope that this has been helpful for you just to think about some of the practical things that need to go into home renovations and doing stuff yourself. Well, I hope you found that helpful because I think it's really practical steps that you need to apply to any renovation. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're buying a home to live in it forever, if you're buying a home to live into it for a couple of years, if you're buying a home just to renovate to sell, regardless of what your approach is to consider the amount of money that you're going to pour into the house because you've got to get your return back. Remember, you make your money in the buy, you make your money in the purchase. And so if it's a short term, then you really want to be careful with what you're investing, with what you're pouring into the property, because on a short term, you may not get the return back that you really want. And so I hope you found that this was helpful in terms of the thought process that needs to go into what you can get back out to the house. Because again, a house won't tell you to stop. You can keep pouring money in there, but when you go to list it, your real estate agent may say, look, this is all you're going to get back out of it. And you're going to say, but I put in this much and I'm only going to get this much. So really be wise in what you put in there and it'll help you in the long term.